Then when it comes back into, the spring, we get back in January, we already know what kind of rhythm we want. We already know what kind of routine we want. And then we go from there.
Sounds good. And here is Monica. She is joining us right now live. She's got to get connected here. Hi, Monica. Welcome. Great to see you again.
Hello. Hi, everyone. How's it going?
We have Coach Hickman and the Western New Mexico University softball team here tonight.
Hello. Thanks for having me, everyone.
Yes. So we're going to dive into this, Monica, just because we're pressed for some time. I want to make sure we take full advantage of you doing majority of the speaking, and I have some questions lined up for you. And so we're gonna dive right into this, Monica. Okay. So I already introduced you. I already showed a great video of you before you logged in. Okay. And we shouted out Salinas, California along the way, right?
Yeah.
So we did those very things. So first question, Monica, I have for you is, I just had it here in my notes, reflecting on your journey and your career and the things you experienced, both the good and the bad. What would you tell that 18-year-old Monica who was leaving Salinas, California, going to University of Tennessee, leaving home, processed across the United States?
Yeah.
What would you tell that 18-year-old girl who was either packing her bags the night before or on the flight? Or I believe I'm assuming you probably drove. Did you drive from Salinas to Tennessee?
No, I flew. Yeah.
So what would you tell that
Southwest flight?
There we go.
All the way across the country, 5 stops along the way.
There we go.
Oh man.
What would you tell that young teenage girl going into this whole new venture and world?
Some of the stuff that I remember, like leaving high school, leaving for college, and even doing summer ball leading up to college, like it was such like a fun and exciting time. I mean, I was excited to leave home, to venture out on my own and like experience something outside of like my family and my hometown. Like I had like that kind of urge of like adventure and excitement and just trying new things. And also obviously like growing up, right? Like it's fun and it's cool. And then, I went through so much in college, and I will say like there was a lot of like really, really good days, but I will tell you, there was a lot of really tough days too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say bad, but there was days where like they were just tough. There was so many things I struggled with, especially my freshman year. Obviously being away from home, right? You miss your family, my brothers and sisters. You feel like you're missing out at stuff that's going on at home. Just getting to know new people. If you're not super outgoing and easy to make friends, like sometimes it's hard to get to know new people. That's hard as well. And new staffs and having a full-time strength coach. He kicked our butt like every single day. Like I'll never forget it. And he was always like hard on me. And also like adjusting to a new coach, right? Like a new college coach. I think that's something that's probably underestimated in the transition from being a high school athlete or travel ball athlete to playing at the college level, is that a lot of times how your college coach coaches you is going to be a lot different than like how your pitching coach at home coaches you, or how your high school coach coached you. A lot of times in softball, we grow up with one coach, right? Raise your hand if you had one coach like almost your entire time. You stayed with a certain team, or maybe you've stayed with like 2 or 3 teams. You kind of stick with one coach. And for specialists, like if you find a coach when you're in youth ball that like a great hitting coach or someone you click with, a pitching coach or a hitting coach, you kind of stick with them, right? But then you have to adjust to a new coach and how they communicate. And that was tough sometimes, getting to know them and also creating that relationship, right? Creating that relationship and being willing to be open, right? As an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old, being willing to be open, like with your heart and with your mind, to learn new things, and also to be able to talk about what you feel. If I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't change a thing. I think those tough days really set me up for my future, looking back on it, and set me up to become the woman I am today. But I would tell my 18-year-old self leaving for college, I would tell myself to go out and don't be afraid to communicate. To communicate early and often, right? Communicate with your coaches, communicate with your teammates more, and just create those relationships. Because when you have a solid foundation of communication, then you can work to build the relationship. And once the relationship's built, then when your coach goes and tells you, Monica, if you walk one more batter, you're going to run 10 foul poles. You're not mad. You're like, okay, I know they're doing it for my best, for the best, and for me to be a better athlete and a better teammate for my team to perform better. So there's that level of mutual respect and trust. But I would definitely say, don't be afraid to communicate and figure out how it is that you communicate best. If it's a text message, if it's going into your coach's office before lunch or after lunch, or, staying a little bit to have a little one-on-one, or going with like a couple other people that want to talk to, don't be afraid to communicate, to try and create and develop those relationships. And also take a deep breath, because relationships aren't built overnight. They take time.
Monica, it's funny. We've been working together. I've been working with Coach Hickman and the Western New Mexico team now for about a month now. And one of the things that the team came up with, as far as things they need to improve on, things they want to see get better, was communication. So this definitely hit everything we've been talking about these last 4 or 5 weeks or so. And the next question, Monica, I have for you is.
All right, let me jump in there.
Go ahead.
Real quick for you. We didn't do this when I was in college, but obviously I've played professionally all over the world, but most of my career has been in Japan. And obviously huge communication barrier. No one really, unless you grew up in a Japanese family, or you don't really grow up learning Japanese, right? So I didn't, which I love playing over there. But I'll tell you, one thing that has helped me create a relationship with them and be open to them is that no matter what it is, whenever I see each person on my team that day, either they or I always tell them good morning or good afternoon, and that's it. They could just be walking by and that's it. But when they see them for the first time, they're like, hi, how are you? Good morning. And for us, we practice in the morning. So most of the time it's good morning, and they're rushing out to set up the field or do equipment or get treatment or tape or whatever it is. But having that 1 second for 2 words with a little bit of eye contact can go a long way in creating those relationships.
Very good. Thank you.
So go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're okay. Thinking about competition, and when you get ready to compete the night before a game, is there a certain routine you would have to prepare yourself for the next day? And if so, what did that look like for you? Did you eat certain food? Did you do certain, were you in bed at a certain time? Did you take a bath instead of a shower? I mean, what did that look like for you?
I was like the queen of I would set everything out the night before, and I laid it out in the order, and I still do it to this day. I lay out it in the order that I would put it on in the morning. So yes, it would be the last thing on the bottom of the chair laid out would be my jersey, or my sleeves, and then my pants, and then my sports bra, and then my next one, and the socks, so I lay everything out that I would wear or bring with me, set out and folded. And then in the morning I would just brush my teeth, get ready, do my makeup, got to have my game day face and hair, so get all that ready, put everything on in order, check, put my whatever I'm taking in my game bag with me. And it gave me this sense of doing something consistently every single day, that I felt every single game day, because obviously I didn't do it on practice days. That was more chaos trying to get to practice from school or whatever else was going on. But on game day, it gave like some continuity and like some peace, because it was so rhythmic to me. Like, okay, here it is, next one. Okay, check uniform, check water bottle, check towel, like check change of clothes, all those things in my bag that I would take with me. And so I started doing that when I was in college, and I still do that to this day. For every game that I play, I always do it the night before, no matter if my game is at 9 a.m. or 7 p.m. the next day.
And when it came to, I listened to your podcast with Brian Kane, and you talked about you visualize. You weren't so much big on meditating for whatever reason, right? I don't know if that's changed since the last time when you talked to Brian or not, but you talked about visualization and how big and how important was you visualizing you performing before you actually went out there and performed within the white circle. I mean, how big is that, and how do you use that to your benefit?
Yeah, so I still to this day am not really big on the meditation thing. I just like can't connect to it for some reason, and that's okay. Like, I've accepted it, and you got to find what works for you. I think that's important. For me, visualization has been really big for me. So and I do it at different times. So like if I had a really big game, let's say I'm going to regionals or we're in a championship game, a lot of times I would try to visualize the game the night before. So like, let's say when I'm laying in bed, if you say your prayers, that's great. So sometimes I do. And then sometimes I would just lay in bed and like, okay, check off all the things I did that day or needed to do the next day, say my prayers, and then maybe I would like visualize our team winning, or like me throwing that last pitch and our team winning, or someone hitting a ground ball to the second baseman and getting the last out of the game. Or sometimes visualizing what it would be like to celebrate if, Jessica hit a home run or hit a double, all those things. And I would do that before I went to sleep. So I'd go to sleep with those good thoughts. But more importantly, I think one thing that I feel really powerful on visualization is it really gives you a sense of confidence and a sense of calm, because a lot of times we rehearse our pitches, we practice, right? We're good. Hands down, you're a college softball player. I know you're getting your reps in, right? You getting your reps in, right? You're getting your reps in. So I'm confident in that. So I got to make sure that upstairs is good. So whenever I would feel nervous or like uneasy, maybe a negative thought came to my mind, maybe, I don't know, I got in a fight with my boyfriend, maybe something wasn't feeling right, or the umpire's zone was being really sucky, like all those things, and I would start to stress myself out, I would always go back to that visualization. And so where I could almost like think about it, okay, like just see yourself pitch in your mind's eye, right? I would just close my eyes, one deep breath. Okay, watch myself pitch, watch myself be successful in my mind's eye. In the dugout, I would sit down for a minute, take a deep breath, close my eyes, see myself in a successful way, and then open my eyes and go. For me, a lot of times, like I really struggled with like nerves. Like I was like a very nervous and like very anxious athlete, like very like anxiety, like, oh, I gotta play. And I would struggle with that sometimes with those nerves. So like when it felt overpowering, sometimes I would take that deep breath and I would watch myself, throw this great rise ball, and oh my gosh, like the ball's coming in and it's breaking up, and swing miss. And the umpire does the great, like, the pitcher loves that when the umpire does the great like gesture. So I would watch that, and then I would still feel nervous. I would still have that anxiety. And so what I would do is I would just repeat it. So I would put it on almost like on replay in my head until I started to feel that sense of calm and that sense of confidence again. And that's when I knew I was ready to go. And not only was I ready to go, I was ready to be successful.
Powerful. Thank you, Monica. Well, thinking about your pitching routine, because I know I've been watching you. I watched some videos of you pitching. You would slide your left foot across the white rubber. You bend down, or you squat, do a little half quarter squat. You do your wind up, and boom, ball's coming out. So, how important has been your pitching routine, and has it changed or evolved over the years?
Oh yeah, like it's definitely like my routine has definitely evolved year to year, and that's natural, and it should, right? Like if you're doing the same thing you were doing when you were 12 years old, don't think you would be in college, right? So, or if I was doing the same thing I did as a 22-year-old professional athlete, probably would have only played like 2 years of pro. But you have to evolve and grow. But the routine, the bare bones of the routine kind of remain the same, right? Like whether it's your positive thought, whether it's your deep breath, there's always certain things that kind of stick with a person. So for me, like I've always kind of like wiped off the rubber with my foot, like cleaned it off a little bit before I step on the mound. You know, I've added in deep breaths. I've added in different postures and positioning with my glove, different things that I felt I needed at the time that allowed me to grow. But within my routine, I think that consistency, that routine, doing a routine allows you to be more consistent in your play, not only in your athleticism, but I think also in your confidence levels, right? Like your consistency and your confidence, which is so important, especially for us ladies or anyone in sports that wants to win, right? But also that routine allows you to find consistency in your mental game and in your mindset, okay? Which I believe are two different things. A mental game and a mindset are different, but your routine can give you consistency in all of those things.
That's good. I remember you saying when it comes to the mechanic part of your preparation with practice or your physical mechanics, the strategies. I remember you, correct me if I'm wrong, in a previous interview, you said that the technique, the mechanic part needs to be done during practice. But when you're in the game, yes. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
100%. You look, like you want to practice technique, you want to break things down, you want to think about like all these high level strategies. You better be doing it in practice. Like that's where you can change and you can get mechanical and be like, hey, like my right elbow needs to be down, and snap your pointer finger up more, and hey, your posture's bad, and like, hey, use your legs more, snap all the way across, all those things, all those technical things, those mechanical things, those scenarios of like, hey, it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Like this rise ball should be in what location? Like all of those technical and strategy things. I think I want to challenge you guys to think about those in detail in practice. And you can break it down in days, like have Tuesday be, form, have Wednesday be in-game strategy. So you're mentally kind of thinking about those things, because when we're in the game, what do we always say? What do all your coaches say? I 100% tell you, every coach in the world says this: trust your practice, right? They say, trust your practice, trust the work you put in. You work hard, right? But work smart too, okay? That's where that's where it'll separate you. And if you can work smart in practice, in the game, it's already been rehearsed. So when it's 1-2 and the number 3 hitter's up with the bases loaded, and I need to throw a rise ball at level 3 in lane 2, I've already done it. I already strategized that, right? I've already made sure last Tuesday that, hey, I need to make sure that my pointer finger gets up more on my rise ball. So you can already do those things mechanically and technically and strategy wise, so that in the game, it becomes almost like an automatic sense, right? It becomes that subconscious mentality that allows you to trust what you put in. It allows that consistency, right? That practice consistency to show up on game day.
we've talked about, Monica, the time we worked together with this program is we don't rise to the occasion, we sink to our training, right?
Mhm.
There's
Yeah.
I just with my experiences and the coaches and mentors I've been around, especially with the mental game, is a lot of coaches say we need to rise to the occasion. It's a big game, it's a big pitch, it's a big inning, we need to rise to the occasion. But in reality, like you just mentioned, Monica, we really sink down to what we've been practicing and trusting our preparation. That's where we sink to, right? Is our preparation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like the game's too fast. Like how many of you run to like first base in less than 3.3 seconds, less than 4 seconds? You know, there's a 20-second clock on the pitcher's mound in almost every, you know, college game. Like you got to pitch within 15 seconds. You know, like that's not a lot of time, y'all. Like there's no time to think. So like if you can practice at a high level, if you can break it down and all those things, then you know you will rise because you're prepared for that.
Do you ever find yourself talking to yourself during competition,
100%.
training? Because we came up with the slogan or mantra for this program, and it is better than yesterday. So that's a constant daily reminder. Each practice, each competition, this group, the Mustangs here, they compete, they practice. We're going to be better than yesterday. That is their mantra. Do you have a certain mantra, or does it change from season to season or game to game, or is there a certain word or phrase you use to talk to yourself? And what do you tell yourself? And at what moments do you find yourself talking to yourself the most?
Well, one of my mantras and phrases that I've used is like live to bring it. And I use that a lot in like my training and aspect of just like being prepared, being fully prepared and ready for that moment, right? In the game of softball, you never know, or honestly, in sport too, in life, you never know when your name is going to be called and it's your turn to be the hero. Right? You never know when it's going to be your turn to be the hero. So I sure as heck as a person want to make sure that like I'm ready when my name is called, because I want to be a hero. I want to be the hero. I want to like lift my team up, and mostly I just don't want to let my team down. Like, you know, so I want to be ready. So I want to bring it every day. So that's kind of just like my general lifestyle thing. And I'll say that to myself when I'm out lifting or running, or, you know, sometimes when I give it before I speak to a group, I'll be like, all right, Mon, time to bring it. Like, let's go. It's game time kind of thing. But on the softball field, I use phrases that change from time to time, or I have a few key ones, but the ones that really like stick with me and that have stuck with me for a long time is almost just like things that keep me in the moment. So keep me like fully present. So a lot of times when I go into my set, I will tell myself, and I'll be in that low position. You can kind of see it down here. When I'm in that position, I'll tell myself, I'll be like, all right, Mon, here we go. You got this. I always say something like, you got this, or here we go, Mon. I call myself Monty Mon sometimes. So like, here we go, Monty Mon. It's like my little alter ego. Okay. And just to kind of like keep me present, but also know that like, hey, this is the moment that matters. And I think if you can talk to yourself in present tense, it really helps you bring out the best in yourself in those moments.
Right. We also talked about quite a bit about, we don't listen to ourselves, but like you said, the self-doubt, the nervousness, the anxiety that it does arise in those moments. And you're no exception, right? Wow. The best on the planet, no exception. We all go through very similar things. So when we listen to ourselves, we tend to believe the things that we're telling ourselves right in our mind. But then when we verbalize, let's go, Mon, right? It's your time. It's time to do you. It's time to be you. We begin to combat those negative thoughts by our self-talk.
It's almost like if you have something that is in the back of your mind, like, oh my gosh, this girl's gonna, I'm a pitcher, so I always talk pitching, but like, oh my gosh, this girl's gonna get a hit, or like, oh, I don't like this call. Like when you start to think that, it gives power, but it gives it power to those words, right? Power to those thoughts. But when you start to say something and you think it, like it starts to even out. So like, you're like, okay, I got this. I say it to myself, okay, you got it, one pitch at a time. Okay, your rise ball looks good today. You're thinking those, but once you verbalize it in the moment before you're about to do the action, before you're about to throw the pitch, before you're about to swing the bat, like that is so powerful, because it's the last thing that your brain hears, and it will overpower any negative comment. If you are truly in the present moment, if you're truly where your feet are.
Love that. Monica, I want to open up. Is there anyone, we had a question earlier.
Okay.
About a pitcher. I can't remember the pitcher's name, the young lady's name. Go ahead and unmute yourself. We talked a little bit before Monica jumped on about her windup.
Okay.
Right? And they had a question about your windup. So go ahead and unmute yourself, and we have time for maybe two, but I want to get at least one question from one of the team. Go ahead.
It was me that talked about your windup, because I feel like it's super unique, and sometimes as a pitcher, someone too, I kind of struggle because sometimes I feel like I'm always changing it, and but you said that that's okay, so that's a good thing. But sometimes it's hard for me to to figure out how, like, the best way to make sure I'm putting everything into going forward and that stuff. But
yeah,
maybe just explain how you do it.
yeah, I think the way you stand on the mat, let's talk about just like your routine. Remember how I would challenge you to find out what is your routine between pitches, and to find consistency in that. If you can find consistency in your routine, then it's going to help you figure out your pitching motion a little bit more. There's always certain things in every position, non-negotiables, right? Like at some point, both arms got to come forward. You got to stride out, you got to drag, you got to pull through, right? But the way that you stand on the mound, the way that you approach the mound, your pitching motion, you go low, whatever it is, that's what I like to call your individual signature, right? That's your fashion on the game. And as long as it gets you into a position that you can feel strong, as long as it gets you into a position that you can feel powerful in, then that's success, right? And once you find that position that you feel strong in, find out how to get into that position every time. But my challenge to you is to find consistency in your routine between pitches. You know, what can you do every time that's similar, that then allows you calmness on the mound, so you're able to get into that position where you feel strong.
I think we have time for one more. Monica, you got time for one more question?
Sure, one more.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Anyone who's dying to ask Monica a question, go ahead and unmute yourself and let's do it. I think McKenna's gonna go. There you go.
We all want to know how you deal with stress in the game, and pressure, and life, and just in general.
Yeah.
I just pulled my hair out. Ah!
Yeah. Me too.
Hey, pressure is a privilege, right? Like, there's a reason, like, yeah, pressure is a privilege. That's the first thing I would say. And honestly, I would tell all of you guys right now, I see some of you with pens and paper, write that down. Pressure is a privilege.
There it is. Thank you so much, Monica.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck, girls.
Thank you.
Have a good week of practice.
There we go. Bye, Monica. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, there we have it. Oh, did you get the picture, Cecilia? Did you get it? All right. I'll have to have thoughts. Any comments or thoughts just on the things that Monica said. It's an open forum. Go ahead and unmute yourself. What was your experience like? What did you get? What was the biggest takeaway from these last 30 minutes?
This isn't about what Monica said, but Cass is totally fangirling.
I had a side comment and I got it too late. I just had seen my text, but you guys were asking about dealing with stress and stuff. And so I think a lot of times us as dealing with stress, she gave us a lot of different small ways that she deals with stress, right? Or she deals with like hard times. Hard times come in different layers or come in different forms on different days. And she gave us things like she talks to herself. She gives us things like a consistent routine. And it's in the game or it's the night before. She gave us visualization. And what she does, even if she doesn't use meditation, that's one that she said that I've accepted that I can't do that. That doesn't mean that one of you all can't accept that you can do it, right? And that's how you do it. She gave us that your routine has to evolve. So you as a person has to evolve from where you came from. You guys aren't fresh. You guys aren't seniors in high school anymore. You're not travel ball kids. You're nothing like that. You're freshmen in college. You're sophomores in college, juniors, seniors, you're fifth years. We got old people on our team, Bree Munoz, right? So with that being said, Bree's routine, I'll tell you this, I've been in and out of it with Bree Munoz, and it's a good thing. She's communicated in terms of like what she needs, what she doesn't need, what she likes, things like that. And it's really honestly helped her become the player she has because she's had to evolve. Okay. She's had to do that. And so remember that she didn't learn all this overnight. Mm-hmm. It's taken her time and it's taken her changes and stuff. But with the stress portion, you have to find different ways that you can do it and how it works for you. And you have to stay consistent. That's the biggest takeaway that she said. And guess what? That's what Coach B says every time. And you all know that I say trust the process a ton. Our pitchers heard that like 8 million times on what day did we just throw? Wednesday? You guys all heard that. Trust your hands, trust your finger pads, trust that, blah, blah, blah. So you guys have heard that from me too. But now I think it's now let's figure out myself. Let's figure out what I can do myself. Anybody else? Go for it.
I just want to point out, she said, be brave, you are. I just like listening to her talk the entire time. And even what Coach B said at the beginning, like, I didn't know where you guys, like the town, how you said, like, there's like crime rate, this and that. And obviously you knew her a little more than anyone else did, but like, she's just in control of herself. I feel like all the time, like when she was talking, you can hear the confidence when she talked about certain things, like there was just no like excuses. And obviously I don't know her personally, but like hearing what you said, like she chose to get out of there. She chose to want to go do something with her life. She lived in Japan, complete different culture. I could not imagine doing that, but she chose to like take it the best way she could. And I don't know, I just feel like I asked myself, like, am I deciding my life right now? Or is it just kind of going and I'm going with it? Like, I just feel like she takes control. And me, like, I'm a fifth year, I'm about to like, last season, all this stuff, like it's time, like I need to take control. So like, that's what I took. Not even softball related. It's more like a person. Like she sounds like a great person. So I'm gonna take that and just know like, you can do what you want. You just have to take charge of it.
Bree, you hit such a great point. Our circumstances don't define who we are and where we're going. Where you're from does not define you. Who your family is doesn't define you. There's a mold you into who you are, absolutely. But we need to, when we get to a point of our lives where we're accountable for ourselves, we can no longer place blame or point fingers at the cards we're dealt for life. Sooner or later, you got to be the dealer. You're going to be the dealer. So great takeaway. Thank you, Bree. Anyone else? Share some takeaways. I'll love to hear your thoughts. Did the wind up did she explain it? I forget the young lady's name, coach. The one that asked about Monica's wind up. Did you get the answer you're looking for?
Yeah, I think it was kind of important that she said, because a lot of that she said how everybody kind of has their own thing that they do, you know, because sometimes I struggle, like I was throwing today and sometimes I'm like, well, maybe if I do this and maybe then it'll get a stronger push off the mound and then, you know, like all this stuff, but it's also like, if you're just consistent with what you do, you know, pick something and make sure that that's, you know, exactly what and keep doing it, then it's going to become stronger and stronger instead of just like, you know, wanting to pitch like Monica Abbott or wanting, because it might work for her, but it might not work for me. You know what I mean?
I think too, she was really big, and I think she really emphasized on what you do between pitches. Right. I think she was pretty clear about that. So for all the pitchers in the room, understanding what is your routine in between pitches, right? What is your routine? How do you reset yourself? How do you refocus yourself? And she was big on taking deep breaths, right? And every podcast I've listened to and interviews she was on, she always talks about her deep breath and how that was part of her routine, right? So again, that's what we talk about in here, right? Everything, I think, like Coach said, when we first started meeting about having me come on and help with the mental part of the game, we talked about how we say very similar things. Monica says some very similar things. And this is the first real conversation her and I have ever had, to be quite honest with you, right? We talked in passing, yeah, but this is the first conversation we had about, you know, mental performance and strategies and how can we win upstairs between the ears, because everything happens twice, right? Happens mentally and it happens physically. It happens in reality. So let's take one more takeaway, and then we'll end the night.
For me, what I took away from it, just what I tell you guys every day at practice, where she said is live to bring it, to be ready in the preparation. That really stuck with me, and just coming to practice every day to bring it on.
Love that. Come on. Live to bring it. Better than yesterday. All right. Coach, thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was impactful. I know it was great for me, being on this end and watching the faces light up when she was speaking and explaining things. And oh man, she's pretty normal like the rest of us, right? She's pretty normal. And what she went through, she talked about how she's always nervous and she has high anxiety. Right? She shared those very things. So understanding that when these professionals and these people who've done it at the highest level, right, top of the food chain, and she experienced the exact same thing every single one of you have experienced and will continue to experience, right? So I'll see you all twice next week. Be ready to get better and be ready to be better than yesterday. Come on. Thank you. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you, coaches.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty.
Bye.
Bye.